IC Director Nugusberg, and I believe Mr. Barsness will be running a few minutes late, he said. So.
Very well, if we can stand and recite the pledge for calling the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, looking for a motion to approve the agenda unless we have modifications.
So moved.
Savagil, do we have a second?
Reichman, second.
Who was that?
Reichman.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Christensen's a yes. Holberg?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Savagil?
Yes.
Reichman?
Yes.
Gugesberg?
Yes.
Motion carries. Turn it over for visitor comments. Do we have any visitors in the boardroom?
We do not. Did you get emails?
Okay.
And no emails, Mr. Chair.
Very well. I'll turn it over for special recognitions and honors. Chip.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to defer our special nominations. We have our special recognitions banquet at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, which will recognize our nominees for Teacher of the Year and Support Staff Member of the Year. And then we have our retirees. So with your permission, I'd like to delay till Wednesday, and they'll be formally recognized where everybody can attend in the district.
Very well. Okay, looking for approval of the minutes of the following meetings, the April 20th regular board session, as well as the April 27th special work session.
I'll make a motion to approve. Holtberg.
That was
Holtberg.
Holtberg, thank you.
Sorry.
Do we have a second? Gugesberg, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Christensen's yes. Holtberg?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Savagil?
Yes.
Reichman?
Yes.
Gugesberg?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, Chip, you want to talk about the bills and donations?
Yes, Mr. Chair. You should have a copy in your folder. Just kind of go through those. I think to note for everybody, I did get an updated Palmer bill and I sent a copy to the board. I do believe that we did seek legal counsel and went through some parameters. Just for everybody's situation awareness, there is another new manager out of Palmer, and I do believe that we're going to build 5 less days for the school year, and I do believe that we're going to get a significant reduction in our special advance for the month of May, and we got our final bill, which will the final billing will be under budget, so that's a good thing. Alexander Technical College, that's just PSU and CIS rates for the year. As you go through some of these, I don't think you have anything that's significant. That RJ Mechanical, that was just the finishing up the boiler that you already had the budget. No issues there. I would go to, I don't know which ones I would pull out for you to really take a look at, but I think for the most part, we are under budget in every area thus far. Obviously, COVID-19 has had a significant impact, but to the budget, the only thing that's going to be over budget is food service, just because the revenue's coming in. But otherwise, I think it's gone actually pretty well.
Questions or comments, folks? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Gugesberg will make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Gugesberg. Do we have a second?
I'll second Meyer.
Meyer seconds. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. Christensen's a yes. Holberg?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Barsness here yet?
Nope.
Hey, Savagil?
Yes.
Reichman?
Yes.
Gugesberg?
Yes.
Motion carries. Investment update.
Front page, I believe. Correction. No, sorry. It's on the very back page. Those are your donations. You already covered that. And in the attachment, there's no change in our investment update other than our interest we've earned on our savings account and checking account. And I would recommend, Mr. Chair, in the future, I would just take that off because it will not change at all as the building construction is wrapped up. But that we can take that in consideration for as we enter fiscal year 21.
Very well. Let's move on to the food service update then.
The copy of the food service update that you can see, I think in your attachment, is as of Friday we'll serve 30,000 meals since COVID-19. So I think that's pretty significant. We have pretty much hit a consistent 200 meals a day going out to our district. It's become pretty seamless. We will continue to strive to provide food service in the summer as MDE encourages it. The reality, though, is right now we cannot find anybody to work it. So that is a friction point that we're struggling with. Right now, Vicky's going to end up all the bills on this Friday, and between the revenue we brought in, we don't really know what revenue we're going to get in paying for these meals. And so I'd like to give you a better picture, but at this time I really can't. And we are going to continue to try to serve meals this summer. I don't think I can go back here and check. Paulette, are you on? I don't think she is, but in talking with Paulette, the challenge we're going to have, and I can share here, is, Mr. Chair, I'm going to just present quick, and so you can see. Is right here. So we start to look at our food service. 26,103 last week. We'll be at 30,000 overall. End of the year cooler freezer shutdown, so we're working through that process. And then they'll do budget to actual, and we are looking at some updating equipment that will come in not till August to see where we finish the year off. But overall, I cannot commend our food service people. They just done a phenomenal job in taking on this meal delivery piece for all of our community.
So did I hear you correctly? We're having summer staffing issues related to food service?
Well, their contracts all end next week. And so we have posted to see if anybody would want to open and run, our food service program for the summer. And right now we have zero interest.
Any discussion?
Well, I do believe that last summer we were able to work with Glenwood, the senior center, and I believe kids will access meals there, so that's being worked out. So meals will still be able to be subsidized and available free to kids, but they most likely come out of the senior center instead of out of one of our district's kitchens at this time.
Well, we also fed at the Starbucks location last summer, of course, as well.
Yeah, that was 2 summers ago, but the challenge is that the issue is we don't serve enough meals out of Starbucks. We don't get reimbursed enough to provide meals out of it. And this year, we're on our third head cook out there, and she's done a phenomenal job. It's just that when we post or try to get people to work in the summer, this is kind of why they're working in a school kitchen, is they get to have their summers off. So we just haven't had a lot of interest in working in the summer.
Well, I certainly appreciate all the food service folks' work over this whole COVID-19 period. So, any further comments?
They'll be closing down. Last meals will go out Friday, or actually I think Thursday, and the kitchen is getting cleaned up, and there will be nobody in the kitchen next week as our final week of school. So I want to just commend them, and we'll continue to look forward to seeing them in the fall.
Very well. Why don't we move on to your superintendent report, Jim?
Okay, so it's going to be some different documents. We're going to start here with our operations meeting. Just kind of go through, just to share with board members. Let me just see if I can make it a little bigger so everybody can see it. Obviously, we got our latest guidance for summer. It doesn't affect us a lot because we don't do a lot of summer school. In the summer school we do is either the form is ESY, which is special ed services, which will be on our campus. And we also got guidance that, hybrid learning that I sent to all staff today. I do feel like next fall I could see some hybrid learning, which means a certain number of kids are allowed to come into our campus that need it, but you're not going to see the vast numbers. In our school district, we work through Runestern Alternative Education Center, so they get a form of distance learning through the Alternative Learning Center. So that's been worked out. So that's the latest guidance that came out. Again, they want to continue to provide school-age care and meals. We've been posting positions. We just don't have people that want to take on the food service part. We do have a number of kids, and Bill can probably tell you, like your legends. Do you have a rough idea?
Well, it all depends. It could be anywhere from 35, 40 to as many as 60, possibly. I think so.
So
good numbers.
The hard part is that the district is encouraging districts to provide this service, and free of charge. But we have Laker Legends, and so a lot of people pay for that service that are non-emergency workers or essential employees. And now with things being opened back up, I don't know who's going to qualify to have it free and who's going to pay, unless you guys already have an update.
Well, we discussed it somewhat today. I believe we can charge if.
I think we're going to be charging for the most part because
Yeah, that's the plan at this point.
Can you repeat that, what Bill had said? I don't think the audio came through very well.
I said, at this point, now that everything has kind of gone back to open, at least to some degree, right now, at the end of the school year, once the school year ends, then we do have the right to charge, which I believe we're planning to do.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
So you can see early childhood, positive end of the year. You saw an ad in this paper last week, and the reason they weren't on teacher appreciation is just we had to have a cutoff line. They provided phenomenal service, did a great job, and they've already completed registration for next fall, and they'll be working on programming this summer. We did get a grant for like $12,000 for a kinder camp, and so obviously we'll need to know what MD's guidance if kids are going to be in the building, so we'll go through that. Early childhood and the elementary, you can see their plan there. Formal instruction added on Friday. There's events happening this week. But then next week will be moving of rooms, and kindergarten graduation is the 26th, and that'll be a drive-through. Then you can see device collection, and then our PLCs will be meeting this next week. And you can see summer, what's being worked on. Laker Legends is going to be moved over to the main campus as we do asbestos abatement and put new carpet over at the elementary, and then they'll move back over to the elementary. I'll work on getting a timeline for you. At the intermediate, you can see, again, what's happening there, summer work. Right now, there is some care funding that might be given to schools. We really don't know if that's going to be given to us. It's very provisional. On the legislature convened, last night, with a lot of work not done. And so we're not really sure we're going to get for care money. But Title I, we are not hiring a teacher at this point. We typically have 2 teachers and a para in there. Right now, we're going to allow a teacher and a para in there, and that extra staffing is around the $87,000 mark. So we're not going to put that in there until after July 1st to make sure we know how much money we're getting entitled. High school, you can see what's going on there. The honors.
Have we heard anything, Chip, from the feds regarding title? I assume not.
No.
Okay.
The challenges with the revised budget, I don't. We just got a what-if scenario like last week to run through to know. I can just tell you right now in the what-if scenario for next year, if we just roll out next year as we roll out this year, we're $187,000 upside down on just the revenues that are coming in. But that'll be covered in our next work session and budget will adopt in June. It's just been very shaky. And then Tom Melcher, who is the director of how MDE gets your money, retired. So there's been a transition in this thing called COVID. So it's a mess. But we'll know more here soon. High school, you can see their pieces here. Wind, just a lot of out there, focus on carpet out there off the get-go because, with them distance learning, it's been pretty empty. So they've been just basically cleaning, moving things out there. Seafood service, I already covered that. I got Bill here. Anything you want to touch on your board report on this? Bill, anything you want to cover?
No, just again, waiting to get some more information. Lots of emails being sent back and forth between the high school league and ADs, and there's a number of virtual meetings. I know that the board of directors is meeting tomorrow to discuss What's going to happen if some schools allow students to come in and participate on their facilities, on their campuses, versus those that don't. Whether the league's going to come up with some set policy in terms of what all schools have to do. It's kind of like the superintendent just said, it's somewhat of a mess, so we're just trying to wait, get some clarification to see what's going to go on, not only during the summer months but beyond. We did receive a number of I did just receive something from the National Federation of High Schools today that spelled out protocol that we're supposed to use going forward, or suggestions and whatnot. I think it was about 30 pages long. The league's going to get it. It was sent to all schools in the United States, and the Minnesota State High School League will receive it also, and they'll probably modify that somehow. I'm not quite sure, but I expect to hear something from the high school league pretty soon.
So right now we're kind of a waiting pattern. As you've seen, some things open up, some things not being opened up. I thought I would just touch on briefly a couple of surveys we sent out. So this is the information. So, Mr. Chair, I just thought if we want to take a look a little bit about graduation, which I'll come back to, but a graduation plan was sent out to all of our families. Board members, you got to see this. A parade route was sent out. I thought I would just share that, honors and scholarship happen on Sunday night. This next Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday, there'll be a graduation rehearsal during the day. And then on Friday night, there'll be graduation. I think Director Holtberg will be there. I would just ask one board member. If you want to attend, you certainly can, but I'm looking at just having a board member on each stage, and then Corin Larson and I will be on one of those stages, so there'll be 2 people on the stage just to have maximum spacing. I think we have a pretty good graduation plan. I would also share that I want to say thank you to all the people who are signed up to volunteer to help facilitate the parking of graduates, all the work that people are putting into making this successful graduation. I think it's also, I want to commend the board for everybody's watching this, for supporting this plan. There's a lot of districts that are just saying, we're not going to have it for a month. We're going to wait and see. And I just think that's one of those things that as we approach summer, I think that next Friday night will be the last time you're going to see the whole class of 2020 in one location. Maybe they'll do it in the future, but it's unlikely. Everybody goes a lot of different directions as soon as school's done, and these kids have earned it. And I think that for everybody in the community, they should thank the board for their support and having graduation. I think there's a lot of envious people around us. In fact, I've got a lot of texts, a lot of emails, and I think that the board should be commended for their work there. Next, I would just say that tomorrow we have our board retreat. So tomorrow I'll have Mr. Ellingsworth here, our interim superintendent. I have Mr. Meisner, Sarah Suki, and Scott Lemke here. We'll be going through all of these pieces here as we start to plan for next year. The school calendar got published. We did get permission to start before Labor Day, just so everybody doesn't panic. That means first day of school is September 1st. Labor Day is on the 7th, so it's late. So that's been published. And so we'll be working through that area tomorrow. And then the board's on campus tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I anticipate that being an hour and a half meeting, and meals is prepared and served. But it gives us a chance to really talk about how we move forward and how we prepare. I'd also state we are going through all the surveys. So this is the elementary check-in. This is the type of information we get. We have 69 responses so far. And it'll just give you data that we'll turn this into as we start to make decisions for next fall. And it's just a good dipstick of where we're at, right? On average, how many hours a day is your student spending on this schoolwork? It's like between 3 and 4 hours a day. My student consistently views video screencasts or teacher makes. I would say that when you have, this is close to 90%, that's pretty successful, right? Only 4.3% say, on average, that's pretty stinking good. So we'll be taking all this data from each one of these surveys. So we interviewed our elementary families, our intermediate school family check-in has 56 responses. The staff check-in has 56 responses. And then our high school students, 242 responded. The intermediate school students, 134 checked in, and then our family check-in is 79 for the high school. So we've taken all this data, taken tomorrow's leadership retreat, take a look at this data, see what it looks like. Okay, so if we did this again, how would we roll forward? So one thing I would ask for all the board members, as you come in tomorrow night, maybe think about from your lens how distance learning has gone. I know my opinion, compared to my wife's opinion, are different. She's had enough distance learning. It's been frustrating, not because people aren't working extremely hard. I just think distance learning is hard when you have 4 kids, and you're trying to be the teacher for 4 kids in a 1-room schoolhouse called the living room. We need about a 6,000 square foot living room with definitely lock-in rooms where they're not allowed to fight each other. So if you have some information on that, that'd be great. Other than that, Mr. Chair, we've been working through a lot of building projects, and that's gone well. Food service is wrapping up, and everything else seems to be fine. So, subject question that completes tonight's board report.
Any questions for Mr. Rankin?
Silence is consensus, Mr. Chair.
We're going to move on to consent calendar. Are there any actions that need to be pulled out for discussion amongst this?
New hires or replacements for science and speech pathologists due to openings or vacancies. The resignation is just not really wanting to continue to be the homecoming advisor as a retiree. The extended school year is all part of ESY, and you can see the retirement, so I want to thank those individuals for their years of service.
Any questions amongst the board? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Dugasberg, second.
Thank you. This is a roll call. Christensen, yes. Holtberg,
Yes.
Meyer. Meyer? Barsness. Savagel.
Yes.
Reichman.
Yes.
Dugasberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Consider approval of the 2020-2022 Teamsters Public and Law Enforcement Employees Master Agreement.
This is settled 2 and 2. It's one of our budget that we already established for next year that you'll be approving in June. We've been averaging between 2.5. So 13 is 2 and 2. A few contractual languages. We settled this contract in about 4 hours, and so that was good. And then number 14, that 2% is for employees that have 10 years of service or more with the district. And that's a one-time. That's why it's an MOU.
Folks have any questions regarding this?
I don't, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take a second to thank both the committee that worked on that in negotiations, the personnel committee, and then also the MT members that I know there was some work to be done there. So for those of us that weren't involved, thank you for your guys' work on getting that done.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Dugasberg, make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Reichman.
There's a motion by Gooseberg, a second by Reichman. This is a roll call vote. Christensen, yes. Holtberg.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Barsness. Savagel.
Yes.
Reichman.
Yes.
Gooseberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Let's see. Consider resolution relating to the non-termination and non-renewal of non-tenured certified staff. Chip.
Mr. Chair, these are individuals that are working outside of their field, so they're Tier 2 teachers, and so technically we have to post their positions and try to find a Tier 3 or Tier 4, or they can get an extension as a Tier 2. All these individuals that are on this list tonight are notified. That's why you can pull it out and see their names. They'll be rehired unless you can find somebody who's licensed, but they do phenomenal work. Just by law, under licensure, we have to not renew them and then look for, licensed staff.
All right, so we need to renew them because of licensing issues, and we'll hire them back, I'm hearing.
We need to non-renew them, and then we can post and then hire them back.
Okay. Any questions amongst the board?
These people,
Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
these people are primarily elementary staff working in a special ed role. That's why.
Very well.
I'll make a motion to approve. Holford.
Holford, is there a second?
Second, Zavagil.
Savagil. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call. Christensen's a yes. Holford,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Parsoness, Savagil,
Yes.
Reichman,
Yes.
Hugisberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 16, consider approval of the designation of the identified officials with authority for MD External User Access Recertification System, CHIP.
So when you go into MD, every district has to have an Iowa. And currently you have myself, you have Angeli Van Zee and Sandy Galkey. And what you do tonight is allow us through this board minutes to go in and have access to approve everything on the MD's website. So like today I went and approved the CT levy for this next year. So that's what you're doing. It's a procedural vote to allow us to have your authority to do that.
Okay, any questions amongst the folks? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Reichman will make a motion to approve.
Reichman, is there a second?
Hugisberg, second.
Thank you. Having a motion and a second, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Christensen, yes. Holbert,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Parsoness, Savagil,
Yes.
Reichman,
Yes.
Hugisberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 17, consider approval of the 2020-2021 membership with the Minnesota State High School League. Any discussion need?
I'll make a motion to approve Hugisberg.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Zavagil.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. This is a roll call vote. Christensen's yes. Holberg,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Parsoness, Savagil,
Yes.
Reichman,
Yes.
Hugisberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 18, consider approval of Brian D. Keeney as auditor for the district.
You'll see a letter for engagement, Mr. Chair. Ed and Schreisels and Associates, they're getting support. I had talked with Ed about 3 weeks ago. They're just getting overwhelmed with other audits, and they don't do. We're the only school they do. Brian does a number of schools, and so he's kind of like a partner of theirs. And so Ed's encouraging me to seek out Brian so he can do it wholeheartedly, and because Ed and his team are overwhelmed with other city audits. And so we've met with Brian. He's very familiar. He did our audit last year, the vast majority of it. So tonight, what the action he'll be doing is he'll be doing our audit for next year.
So Brian is not with Desitel?
He is not.
He's not, okay.
He's an
But came on
associate that comes
recommendation from Ed?
Yeah, I'm sorry. He is an associate that works with them when it comes to the school audit because he has more familiarity.
Okay, very well. Any questions? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Meyer, is there a second?
Reichman will second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Christensen, this is a roll call vote. Christensen's yes. Holberg,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Parsoness, Savagil,
Yes.
Reichman,
Yes.
Hugisberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Policy committee update.
Director Meyer or Director Gugesberg or Director Reichman, you want to talk? I think you went through these policies last week.
Yeah, I can if you want. Most of those are pretty standard ones. There's a couple of it just basically responsibilities and meetings and how everything works. The one I think was the ground rules for working collaboratively that we had recertified every year. I think we're going to move that to doing it every 3 years because there's no reason to. Obviously, we can revisit that if we were to have any issue, but there was really not much to change. The rest of it's pretty much standard language on the rest of the policies.
Any of the other members?
No, I was just going to say too, it's just the standard policies for admin and superintendent and board relations. So nothing outstanding.
I appreciate your time working on that. That being said, we'll move on to item 20, which is establishing dates for filing of the affidavits for candidacy of the school board elections.
I'm gonna rely on Angie for this, because this is something I really work on, and she is our clerk, right, for this?
Well, that'll be next.
Okay. So,
So we're just establishing the dates. We have guidelines, so we have to have it posted. It's July. I can't even tell you the dates off the top of my head. But it's a 2 or 3 week period. It's middle of July to the first part of August, and we're just going to publish it in the paper.
so typically what I've witnessed that we did last year is I want to feel like what we did, Mr. Chair, I think because of water ramets, it just allows us to get the information to the county
Yeah,
recorder.
we have to get the filing dates out.
And so typically, I think that last year I could have swore you had close of business on the 7th of August or something like that, or we would run like the 3 weeks in with a closing of early August, or is it?
It's August 11th. I don't.
So-
If you have access to my calendar, it's on there in July and August, but I don't know if you do.
I don't think you trust me with that, so. I think what we do is establish that period, but maybe the ending would be close of business on August 7th. Any discussion? So maybe it would run from like the 20th to
Well, we
July 7th.
have to run
the
it
3
these
weeks.
particular dates. Like the state has
Do you have
set these dates. Yeah. Do you want me to go grab them?
Yeah.
So we have to run it what dates, Angie?
Let me grab it.
Thank you.
Angie will have your forms ready for you to refile all 4 board members. No smiling, Ms. Director Meyer. Just give us the thumbs up. I think we have all 4 board members considering rerunning, so that'll be great, especially with the interim superintendent, new superintendent coming back.
So the dates for filing are July 28th through August 11th. And then they can withdraw up to the 14th of September, I believe.
Any discussion amongst the board members? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to that effect.
Reichman will make a
Who was
motion.
first so moved?
Thank you, Mr. Gugesberg. Is there a second?
Reichman second.
Thank you, Mr. Reichman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Christensen's yes. Holtberg.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Barsness. Zavagil.
Yes.
Reichman.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, my recommendation for number 21 is to nominate Angela Van Zee to be your election clerk.
Any discussion? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve that one for sure.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Definitely second.
All right. Great. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion whatsoever. Roll call vote. Christensen's yes. Holtberg. Sorry.
Yes.
Holtberg?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Meyer?
Yes.
Barsness? Savagil?
Yes.
Reichman?
Yes.
Gugesberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. It's time to talk about school board members to hand out diplomas at commencement. Typically, we have had family members be preferred, obviously first. Jeffries, I know you have a son. Do we have any other folks on the board that have any relatives that are graduating?
I have a niece. Reichman niece.
Okay. Is that something that you would like to participate in?
I'd be honored.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I am thinking that we are going to have 2 stages. I think are these 80-foot long trailers?
Yes.
What's all like a flatbed?
Yeah,
40? 50? So we are going to have like 100 feet of stage, 8 feet wide. I mean, So I mean, we're gonna have a lot of square footage, and we'll have some tables, and there'll be 2 stages. So what I don't want people to think board members can't come, but you're probably gonna stay in your chair, and you're not gonna. I will allow Jeff to hug his kid if his kid's okay with it as he wears 3 masks. But you're basically you'll be there sitting in your chair. Kids will come up and their diplomas will be sitting on a table with a name tag. So I just don't want you to feel like you didn't have a big involvement with graduation. It's going to be pretty hands off.
Okay. Right now I'm hearing Mr. Holberg, Mr. Reichman. I intend to also be there as well. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I plan on being there as well. I think we all, this class is going to have a unique circumstances this year. I think as many of us that can attend, if there's room for us to be up there, it's important that we're up there. If we're sitting in a chair versus participating is fine. I just, these kids deserve an entire board there. If the entire board can be there, I understand if we have obligations that we can't, but this class deserves no different than any others if there's room safely. So I would attend as well.
I would, if there are any others that would like or can have the opportunity to be there, please reach out to Angie within, today's what? Let's get a hold of Angie by Friday so that they have an idea. That sound fine, Chip?
Roger.
Yeah, this Director Meyer, I plan on being there also, whether it's just watching or wherever I'm needed.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Okay, anything else, Chip, on that topic?
No, I just think for board members that you understand, we are under the guidelines. There was an article in the paper this week. A number of districts are reaching out to us, and we're following the guidelines. We do have a number of volunteers, but I would say to the entire public, I've published the guidelines. Do I think I'm going to come up and tackle you if you get out of your car? Absolutely not. If you want to hug your graduate, that's your business. We are going to follow the protocols as best we can, but these are also high school kids that will be likely hugging and grabbing each other. So I've seen. I guess what my point is that we are taking every step to follow the guidelines given out by MD, but at the same time, there's a human touch in a celebration. So I will respect what people do. We're just going to keep everybody safe as best we can. So.
Well said. All right, you refer to the announcements. Graduation, of course, the 29th at 8. What time do you want us there, Chip?
Mr. Chair, if you guys could be here by about no later than 7:20, and I would have you probably park on the west side by the playground, and I'll have you come in through the back door, and I'll have your flower and everything here in the boardroom, and we can meet here. There'll be some water and a little shops in here, and we'll walk out together.
Okay. Please refer to not only to the June work session, but we do have a work session tomorrow. We have the regular board meeting on the 6:15 at 7 p.m. Any further items? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn at 7:39.
So I'll move Lewisburg.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Diane. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Christensen's yes. Holberg?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Marsness? Zavagil?
Yes.
Reichman?
Yes.
Dugasburg?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.